Good evening, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new season here with Invictus Racing League. It's fantastic to be back for another enthralling set of 12 races as part of Tier 2. And tonight we're at round 1 at the Bahrain Grand Prix, otherwise known as Sakhir International Circuit. This amazing circuit built in 2004 and has been on the calendar pretty much every year since then, outside of 2011 when there was some strife at the time. Now, fortunately, tonight I'm Jack TM53, your commentator for this evening, and I'm delighted to say that joining me alongside me in the commentary box is Xerox today. Xerox, how you doing, mate? Yeah, it's all shaping up to be a wonderful season. For those that are brand new to the channel and watching tonight, please do just hit the like button on our stream. It really does help promote Invictus Racing League. Xerox, just to let you know, just got a comment from Scotty saying that it just sounds like you're quite distant. Don't know if you want to might move when you're speaking, maybe move your mic a little bit, because for those that are watching, Xerox has got this sort of setup at the moment where it's quite difficult for him to chat and at the same time because he's got to move the mic. Am I right in saying? Yeah, I feel a few of the guys are just saying there seems to be a few troubles there in terms of I don't know if you want to maybe try and maybe switch out, have a look at the mic settings on your end. I'm just gonna have a little look on my end in terms of the game sound. Yeah, maybe give it a whirl. See, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to, just for the benefit of everybody who's watching, just bring the game sound down, so hopefully they can hear you now. Guys, what do we reckon of that, what you've just heard from Xerox? Hopefully you can pick them up a little bit more this time. Oh no. Well, we will do what we can. We will try and manage as best as we can. If anyone doesn't pick up on what Xerox is saying, I'm always on hand to be able to reiterate the comments. But we do have a few drivers out on circuit, which is pleasant to see. We've got a number of drivers looking to see who that is in the Alpha Tauri. Let's just have a quick scan through. I can see them just approaching turn 10. It's a really difficult, long braking left-hander. It's Claudius 1145, a name that's new to me in Invictus Racing League. Is Claudius a new driver, Xerox, that you're aware of? It is, and yeah, it is, and he's going to be the first driver to go on a lap of this 5.4 kilometre circuit, 15 corners, as he blasts down the main straight, about 200 miles an hour, hitting the brakes into turn one, clips the apex nicely. The number 66 will ride on board with him up through the gears, and he overcooks it, and that's a broken front wing, and that's your first lap of tier 2, not even yet completed. So that's a challenging corner on this circuit, is turn 2 and 3. In terms of, from your perspective, Xerox, and actually, sadly, Claudius has just been disqualified for just trying to reverse out of where he was. That's such a shame. But Xerox, coming back to you, what corners on this track do you think are quite a challenge that you think are difficult?
So there are a few spots definitely that are really challenging. So the turn 1, 2, and technically 3, they're in sector 1. If you don't get your power down, swipe right, you can spin like we saw there from the Alpha Tauri, as well as turns 8, 9, 10. That hairpin, that left-hander hairpin for that middle section straight. If you get that braking point wrong, you're going to go off track, which I actually did during the race during the safety car, not paying attention enough. And then the fast corners of 11, 12, and 13. If you don't hit your power right, you're just going to go off track and you're going to lose a lot of time, as well as that final corner. But that final corner isn't too bad.
Yeah, and we're coming through. We're on board with Ricky Maru here at turn 13, a driver I'm familiar with, raced in RP before, and he's on the medium compound tyre, so we don't expect him to be pole position. We've had a comment from Scotty saying pole's going to be a 129.434. I mean, very specific, Scotty. We'll see if your prediction holds true. Let's have a look at Ricky Maru's time. It's a 30.4, already faster most of the times from tier 3 yesterday, just showing the pace here. LDR Gamer now goes fastest on a 30.0 provisionally. Mr. Steen just appears in second place in the Mercedes. And Aston Martin of Vasek comes across the line as well. There's another Haas in the background, which I think is Keza. And I think he's just got... Actually, it's not Keza. My corrections on that one. Who was the Haas that just went through? I didn't quite see. As Ads Lucas gets a 30 flat in the Alpine. Some competitive times, though, already. There goes Clips Kerry. No, go ahead.
I'm looking at other people. LDR Gamer, if you already have it on the screen, LDR Gamer is running medium, and they got a 130. So LDR Gamer and Ricky can still find a lot of time, most likely, on those soft tires.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. There goes Ruddo on a 129.7. A driver I've raced with before is Ruddo. Very competitive driver. Certainly one to watch out for this season. I know he had a bit of rotten luck last season in Tier 2, did Ruddo, but we'll see how the Ferrari driver gets on. The other driver I'm really interested in is our reigning Tier 3 champion from last season, Lucas Blaha, in the Aston Martin. Took the championship at Suzuka in Tier 3 and the final race of the season. He's made the transition up into Tier 2. He's on an outlap at the present moment. But that's a good spread of times, isn't it, Xerox? You know, the fastest lap is a 29.5 and Kent is there on a 30.9. So 1.4 seconds separates 14 drivers. That looks like a tight grid. Hopefully that will be the case. I'm sure everyone will be looking to improve. I had a few drivers commenting to me in messages earlier on. And hopefully...
Scotty is saying that my microphone is, my audio is being picked up by your microphone, so they couldn't hear me at all.
Oh, you're joking me.
Apparently not. I don't know.
How is that working now?
How this stuff works. Because it should pick up the party audio. I don't know.
That is bizarre. That is something we're going to have to try and figure out as we go along. So that's a bit of unfortunate. I don't like to have technical issues. It's not something that would typically happen, but for whatever reason, whether it's to do with cross-party platform issues here, I'm not 100% certain. And unfortunately, we're just going to have to try and struggle through, and I'm not going to have to mute myself, put it that way.
Yeah, so basically what I covered also was that Lucas was running pretty well last season, and then I had mentioned JP9. JP9 was running really good last season, but there were some hiccups throughout the season that he had to try to overcome. Sitting at where'd he go?
It's not P1 anymore because Lucas Blaha is P1.
Yeah. JP9 is up now to P6 at Mercedes, and yeah, hopefully he can overcome his issues from last season and have a better position.
Well,
Fan favorite up into P1.
well, the Tier 3 champion from last season's making his mark already. That's a fabulous effort. Pole position, just for the record, for everyone who was here yesterday, it was a 129.6 in Tier 3, set by, I'm not bragging, yours truly. I didn't win the race, I wasn't quick enough, but that is just an exemplary display of driving from the Aston Martin guys. Still 8.5 minutes left to go in this session, of course, so that can all change between here and the next, well, like I say, 8 minutes 40 seconds that's on the clock now. Kez is saying, don't be fooled by my pace. It's not permanent. You're not wrong, Kez. You're in the pits. You're not moving, so that's clearly not the case. Who else is not settled? We've got Ivan down in 18th, and Joe, as Williams, decided to do a bit of, how would I describe it, lawn mowing across the exit of turn 1, just getting out of the way. I think that's Edmund getting out of the way. No, correct me. It's Alex, in fact, another new driver. There. I'm just going to have a...
Communicating with Scotty right now. He's trying to help with our audio issue. So I don't know if my audio is coming through the party, your microphone's not cleaning it up properly, but we're still trying to figure this out.
Yeah, we certainly are, everybody. It's not as if we can't do that. But I'm looking at my connections and do apologise for the stream being paused for a moment. This isn't, again, something that is ideal. But I'm looking at my settings, and everything, as far as I know, is the same as what it has been previously for streaming. So, unfortunately, I'm drawing a bit of a blank on it.
Scotty is trying to look into this to see if we can fix an issue or see if there's a workaround for this.
Yeah. Very strange. That's Ricky Maru, though. Whilst this is ongoing and we're trying to solve this problem, Ricky Maru now puts himself provisionally pole on a 129.4, 3 thousandths of a second faster than Lucas. Keza still in the pits. Obviously, Joe up to 4th and Ivan up to 5th. So the two guys who had yet to set a time, their first flying effort, very competitive from those two. That is impressive from everybody. Matt's saying the audio's there, it's just super quiet. I've checked genuinely, hand on heart for everybody who's watching, and I appreciate your patience. I have checked every single setting, and there is nothing I can do from my end.
Alright, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try again. Let's go ahead and I will put the speaker on the phone, and I will put it up against my ear like a phone call. Let's see if this will be any improvement. I don't know.
Got a Mercedes coming. Just about to say, we had a Mercedes coming across the line. It was Mr. Steen, the number 13 driver, gets into 5th place. He's on the 3rd row of the grid. I can hear you relatively fine on speaker, by the way, Xerox. I've got no issues there, but I don't know why it's not translating between that and then the party into the cross transfer into the YouTube video. But it's a strange one.
I don't know if you noticed, but the Aston Martin teammate up into P6, now P8, Vasic.
I think Vasek is on an end lap at the moment. He's just...
Scotty is saying that I need to
That'll be in your, yeah, that'll be in your party settings. Kerr goes up to P1 with a 29.3. That is a statement lap time from the Red Bull. We've got roughly, I want to imagine it's about 5 minutes to go in the session. There you go, 5 minutes 6, just briefly popped up, but Kerr with a fabulous effort. The top 10 drivers, ladies and gentlemen, in fact, no, stretch that out to the top 16, are separated. No, tell you what, scratch that, look at it again. 7/10 covers first to 18th. That is unbelievable in terms of the pace between all of these drivers. We are in for one blunderbuss of a race in a moment's time. What the drivers will do strategy-wise, we're unsure. I was speaking with Lucas yesterday. He's saying it could be a soft to medium Grand Prix in terms of one-stop strategy. We saw in Tier 3 yesterday there was a safety car, so it changed the entire dynamic of the race. And we had drivers doing a double stop for the medium tyres, double stop for the softs, and a few other things. But first to 18th, separated by 7/10 of a second. That is unbelievably competitive. Now, while Xerox is sorting himself out, we're right on board with JP9. We just saw in Sector 1 he's a 10th and a half up in those first sequence of corners. Coming down to the tricky braking zone at turn 10, he just runs a touch wide at the apex of turn 10. Shouldn't lose too much of time, maybe half a tenth if that, but he so far has put in a tidy effort. Into turn 11, fourth gear, will he short shift to fifth? No, he lets the revs run right out, good to see. Completely flat through turns 12, and then into the braking zone here at turn number 13, and that is 4/10 up, almost half a second really, and that could see JP9 go up onto the top 3 spots. If he can continue this trend into the final 2 corners, little kink here is turn number 15. He runs towards the line, number 7, Mercedes driver, it's a 29.4, he's right in the mix. 3 minutes to go, that is a good effort, but has he gone just a touch too soon as the track evolution starts to ramp up in these last few minutes? But great effort to put him on the second row of the grid so far. Well, following a couple of drivers who are on their outlaps, we've got a Ferrari coming out of the final corner. It's Ivan Belov's teammate, Ruddo 24. Here he comes then. Scarlet Ferrari charges towards turn 1. Number 42, Resplendent on the front nose cone of that Ferrari SF. Comes into turn 1, looks like nice and neat. Through turn 2, there's a yellow flag out there, but it's in sector 2, wouldn't affect Ruddo's lap at all. He's got to be absolutely on it now through turns number 4. Down through the gears, uses 4th gear, clipses the apex. He's got a, looks like an Alfa Romeo on the right hand side, gets out the way. He's 8 thousandths of a second up, bit of a wiggle through turns 5, 6 and then 7. He's got to get on the brakes, down into, looks to be 3rd gear for Ruddo, upshifts to 4th, so limiting the torque through the rear wheel drive system on these cars, and then again down through the gears into 2nd at turn 10. Oh, another little kick of oversteer from Ruddo, really pushing the absolute extremities of the tyre canvas for sure, and now he's going to be into the next couple of corners, the fastest part of this circuit. You see him rising up through 160 miles an hour at this right-hander. Another Mercedes getting out of the way. He's improving on his lap time, about a tenth and a half. He runs a touch wide at turn 13, but nothing doing there. This looks like it'll get him in the top 10 as everybody else now starts to build onto their laps. 4th gear again, you can hear the car, the rear tyres are scrambling for grip on the exit of that corner, and the lap time from Ruddo is a 29.5, so he found some time in the last corner and puts him on the 3rd row of the grid. We've got other drivers now coming across the line, starting their flying laps. Mr. Steen being one of them. Kerr still on an outlap. He's got time to get round, I think. In fact, if I'm fairly certain, this is him going across the start-finish line. So can Kerr respond to the drivers around him as they start setting laps? Lucas is going even faster. A 10th and a 3rd up so far. This is a good effort.
All right, radio check. Let's see if that'll work.
I can hear you loud and clear. It's just whether everybody else can, Xerox.
And we'll hear that in a second. Let's see. And I cut myself off there by accident. We were good to go.
All right,
Sorry about that.
Ricky Maru then coming through turn 10. He's just locked a brake as he goes in. Hasn't lost any time as he thunders his way towards turn 11. He's going to be popping the timing beam on the exit of turn 12, which is coming up now. Watch him as he phases through the corner, bouncing off the limiter, and he is improving. Lucas goes fastest provisionally at 29.1 from the Aston Martin. I'm still following Ricky, though. He'll be the next driver to set a lap time. And I'm sure that Xerox, you're watching Kerr at the moment, so let me know on his progress when he comes towards the final corner. But Ricky Maru, will he be able to challenge for pole position? He can't. He ends up going third.
Kerr is still on a hot lap, coming through the end of sector 2, start of sector 3.
I think he's
got
backed
the Aston
out.
Martin behind him. I don't know if that's Vasek or... No, that is Vasek behind him. And he's going off. Kerr's going off. He lost his lap time.
Yeah.
So he's only good enough for P2 here. 2/10 off the pole.
That's still a good effort from Kerr. What about Ivan Beloff? That's a good effort. That's up to second place. That's really positive. I think it's LDR Gamer going up to 6th position. The other Aston Martin just coming towards the line, which is, of course, Vasek. He's going to be down in 15th place. I think there was a move from... I think it was Edmund going up into the top 10. Joe Hamster towards the line. That's a better effort from the McLaren. That's a 29.3 to put him on the second row of the grid. And everybody has set a lap time. And the gap from 1st to 18th is 7.5 tenths. Put it this way, ladies and gentlemen, pole position in Tier 3 would not even get you 16th place on the grid. That's how fast these guys are. What a qualifying session, the first one of the season. Wow.
This is going to be a very interesting race, especially with that front row between Ivan and Lucas. And then Joe running really good last season. We're going to see if he can stay up there in the front through the pit stops.
Yeah, it's a really good point to raise there, Xerox, about the pit stops and the strategies. I'll come back to you on that one. But Lucas Blaha carrying off in the form he left off from Tier 3 last season. Pole position, first time out in Tier 2 from the Czech driver. It's Ivan Beloff on the second place alongside him on the grid. Joe Hamster and Kerr round out row 2 with Ricky Maru, Clips, LDR Gamer and JP9 on the 3rd and 4th row respectively. Keza and Ruddo rounding out the top 10. Edmund and Alex, the two Williams, is nice and equally matched there on row 6 with Atsu and Lucas. 13th and 14th with Mr. Steen, Vasek in 16th. Kent and Clemmer rounding out the last qualifiers. Claudius was disqualified, unfairly so, for reversing as he had an incident on the exit of turn 3. I mean, Xerox, what are you thinking in terms of strategy? What are you thinking could happen and play out today?
And, I'm not really trying to go off of yesterday's race, but seeing what could happen is we could expect, more than likely, an early safety car. So running the harder tires would be a smarter play than running the soft tires later on, depending on where that safety car comes into play, or if a second one comes in at all, either. But a lot can happen, and... For me personally, the hard tires didn't perform as well as the soft or mediums, but that is down to race setup. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Setups are going to be critical, of course, in this championship. It is equal performance for those that are new to Invictus. It is an equal performance championship. The cars and liveries, of course, they look in their respective guises like they would do in the F123 season. But they, of course, are set by a certain internal diameter, so that means that everybody runs at the same baseline speed, but setups can make a key difference around Bahrain. You're looking potentially at a car that should have higher downforce around this circuit because you're going to need the apex speeds, particularly at turn 11 and turns 5 through to 7 is really key there. Traction is a big element as well, so the car's got to be using the differential settings. Those are the two key areas, I think, for today. Xerox, a prediction from yourself, who's going to win this?
I I'm gonna have to go based off of last season what I've seen. I'm looking at either Lucas, I'm looking at Joe, and I'm sure there's a few others, but I can't remember the names off the top of my head when I'm looking here at the screen of the pit boxes as our drivers are getting ready for their race setup. But like you were saying, those setups play an actually bigger part than you would expect. I actually ran a pretty aggressive setup yesterday, but I was losing a little bit of straight line speed, so you want to be careful of that. And one of my other setups was it actually had a pretty low downforce setup to go through those corners and focus on the straight line speed, but we'll have to wait and see.
All right, then here we go. Then for the safety, well, I say safety, but more like the formation lap that we've got for this season. We're trialing it out. We know that last season we used to just jump straight into it, but it'll be Lucas Blaha leading the way. I'm looking through the drivers. Obviously, you got Ivan Beloff, Joe, Kerr, Ricky Maru, Clips, LDR, JP9, Keza and Ruddo, your top 10. Do you think any of the guys outside of the top 10 for yourself, Xerox, do you think any of them can get into the top 10? Or go on.
I feel like Kent can try to get back up into the top 10, but we'll have to wait and see. And Blackside is saying that I'm still pretty quiet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the party, and you can invite me back, and we'll see if that will be better.
All right, I'll give it a whirl.
All right, I will be back.
Everyone's saying that Xerox is quiet. Sadly, there is nothing that I can do about that, which is a bit frustrating, really, because I do want to make sure that Xerox could talk so you can hear him. I'm just inviting him back in, so apologies for not being able to see that on the stream. But in terms of party settings, is that any better?
I have no idea. WFC is saying that I need to put my sound up. I don't know how. Like I said, you would have to turn my volume up. I can't do that on my own.
You are maxed out. I think we're just going to have to roll with it. And if anyone doesn't hear you, I'll just reiterate what you say.
I'm trying to watch a playback of the stream to see how my audio is now. And I am holding that microphone up to my mouth here. Doesn't sound any better.
Daryl's saying we can hear him, but it's just very quiet compared to you. To be fair, Daryl, I am like a foghorn, so everyone can hear me. But we have got the drivers coming around the final corner. We just still got Claudius coming down the straight between turns 13 and 14. Lee saying get to talking to a can.
And we didn't have any early contact compared to yesterday. We had some contact between my teammate and another driver. Unintentional, because there was someone who backed into someone else.
I'm curious.
Yes, Scotty is saying it was better than it was. But I'm going to go ahead and change my Discord channel to chat to the driver.
We've lost Ivan Beloff before the start has even gone underway. Xerox, hang on. No, we've got him back in. It's all good. So we're going to have the 5 red lights coming up here for the first round of the season. And the race is live from Bahrain, and it's a good start from Lucas. He's using those soft tyres well. He's got a nice gap to Ivan Beloff as we go towards turn 1. Joe trying to go around the outside of the Ferrari. It's probably not going to happen. Kerr trying to keep himself on the inside as well. Looks like we're getting through clean in the background. So far, so good. But it's been a relatively tidy start, and no one will be happier than Lucas. He's a second to the good already using those soft tyres immediately. Kerr trying to make a way through. There's the LDR Gamer in the Alpha Tower. He's made a decent start. That's JP9 going backwards. What happened there? Did you see Xerox? What happened to him?
I was watching and I didn't get to see it. I just saw a name drop. I tried to get to him as soon as possible, and he was dropping down the grid. So I don't know if there was a spin there through that long right-hander of turn 4. But very clean through turn 1. I saw some contact between Ivan and Joe, it looked like. We'll have to wait and see. Lucas already almost 2 seconds ahead. We're not even done with Sector 2.
He's absolutely flying, Lucas, in the Aston Martin. He knows he's got to get away with this now because his strategy to me, when we were talking yesterday, he was saying that he thinks he can go soft to medium and do a one-stop. And I'm going to be really curious to see if he pulls it off. Tyre wear around Bahrain is really difficult to manage, but it's more to do with the pace where the drivers were struggling yesterday in Tier 3. Once the drivers got to the peak of the tyre, that was it. They just seemed to watch the times fall away. But 2.1 already from Lucas as we round the first lap. It's the Aston Martin leading the way from even Beloff. That's Joe Kerr in fourth. Ricky Maru in fifth place. Ruddo in sixth, but he's got LDR Gamer putting him under pressure already. Coming towards turn one. He's on the outside line. We're on board with him. Ruddo blocks that off for now. More movements going on further back. That's Ads Lucas getting past Edmund. Those two have swapped places twice already.
Yeah, so we have an early pit stop from Claudius and JP9, I believe. And I don't know what happened with Claudius. I didn't get to see what happened there. I was trying to get my channel set up for any DNF. But Claudius with an early pit stop, and a lot to gain from this.
There's a big fight going on for 8th place. Thank you for the update on Claudius. It's a shame that he's had some issues going on there. But Clips, Keza, Ads Lucas, Edmund and Atsu and basically everyone from 8th place backwards are all together. It seems that JP's just about reattached himself to the back of the grid, but the problem is around this circuit is that once the DRS is active, which it will be at the start of lap 3, it's very, very difficult for drivers to catch up. Now, fortunately for JP, he's got a softer tyre compound compared to Klemmer, Vasek and Alex around him, so maybe he's just got a chance to latch onto the back, but it's going to be hard from here.
Yeah, as long as he has an appropriate setup that can get him that pace, and especially getting close to Klemmer, those medium tires will work wonders, and then try to put him back in the fight as long as he can get there. It's just up to him to not make any more mistakes that he needs to be able to get back up into the point. If you guys didn't know, the equal performance, you can be in the top 12 and still score points compared to our real performance on Thursdays. Unfortunately, we don't have any commentating Thursdays yet, but that is your update for the point structure. We're not following it by the game, but as long as you can get in the top 12, you score points for the league.
Yeah, 17 points for the race victory, right the way down to 12 for 1 point for the drivers. There's loads of fights all over the circuit. I just seen Atsu making some moves and fights with Ads Lucas. I saw as well Ricky Maru actually got past Kerr. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but Kerr has lost quite a bit of time to the Haas driver, so something's gone on there. He's got the soft tyres. In theory, he should be quicker at this point in the race. But that, alas, does not seem to be the case. Now, 2nd to 7th have made a bit of a breakaway from Keza, who is holding a very nice train of cars behind him. I won't call him Jarno Trulli yet, because, he's still got the time this season to establish that name. But Keza has got a nice group of cars ready to pounce, because his hard tyres at this point are still firing up in terms of speed, realistically, at this point. They do take a bit of time around here to get into the right groove.
And I'm looking at the intervals here through the end of Sector 3. Alex, 4/10, Vasek, 3/10 behind Mr. Steen. They're looking to try to close that gap, especially here with DRS. A big DRS train, as I can see him opening up down that straight line. There's a Red Bull trying to make a move on the Alfa Romeo of Cliff Scary against Keza.
Oh, a bit of a moment. Bit of a moment then. I just watched Joe Hamster has overtaken Ivan. Ivan got away with it on the exit of turn 2. He had a bit of a wiggle. And I think just trying to get back towards Joe, but he's almost lost DRS as a result. So Ricky Maru, who just set the fastest lap of the race, by the way, quicker than Lucas on those soft tyres. We know that the softs will start to come away from the peak performance now. They've done their few laps. Ads Lucas and Edmund are trying to do their utmost for screen time. These two keep fighting so much, and Atsu is just stuck behind them watching them. These two having a great fight for the last place in the top 10.
The Haas of Ricky Maru trying to close in on Ivan for P3. That's a fight we're looking at right now. Both having DRS. See how he comes out of this set of turns into Sector 3. Trying to stay as close as he can to that Ferrari.
Yeah, Ricky Maru's really pushing hard here. But the thing is if Ivan keeps hold of DRS, which it looks like he will do for this lap, Ricky Maru's just going to be stuck in a bit of a malaise, shall we call it. He's not really going to be able to make any progress. But the fortunate thing for him is that, and Darryl mentioned this and I was thinking the same thing, those drivers on the hard tyres, Ricky Maru, Ruddo, and potentially Keza as well, they're going to be
Almost
very
three
quick.
wide between LER Gamer, Ruddo, and Kuh. I don't know. A lot of movement there. Red Bull, Ferrari, and AlphaTauri. Sorry to cut you off, but I was seeing that form down the main straight. As Mr. Scene gains position on Edmund there for P11. Still about 1.6 gap between P11 and P12. Or P10, sorry.
No, there's a lot going on. There is a lot going on, and Clips, Kiri and Keza trying to stay on top of this is absolutely phenomenal. Keza and Clips Kiri, as you say, Xerox, they were fighting together, then they've kept in position. I think Edmund's tyres now, he's starting to struggle. Those softs are not at their peak. I did mention that the lap before. But those drivers, I've just come back to the point I made, those drivers in the top 8 at the moment on the hards, Ricky Maru, Keza and Ruddo, they are going to be, if there are no safety cars, I don't want to jinx it, but if there aren't any, they're going to be rapidly quick when they're on the medium or soft tyre later on in this race, aren't they?
They are, and especially that middle group of the 4 medium tires and the 1 soft runner, all the way from P9 to P13, separating them from the rest of the hard tire runners. So those hard tire runners are going to have a decent gap between the front tire runners here, starting from P8, P6, and P4. Luke Splaw now 4 seconds or so ahead of Joe. Joe trying to close the gap. He's working on it a little bit, but he's got a lot to do, especially with Ivan and Ricky behind him, trying to close that gap.
Ricky just pulling into the... Oh, that's a McLaren having a bit of a wobble in the background. That was Ken's. Not sure what caused that. Don't know if he's just lit it up on the exit of turn 15, but he's lost a few spots there as Edmund continues to fight for King and Country. Just referencing King Edmund for those that don't know. But in any case, Atsu is the next driver just trying to find his way past this Williams, who's putting up a really stubborn defence. And it's really good to see, it doesn't matter if you're on the softer compound tyre, the medium, the hard. It's always good to see drivers fighting for positions. First round of the season, especially if you're new, you want to make a mark. And Edmund's doing some good driving, really combative as, Vazek nearly ran into the back of Atsu then.
He is, and I'm watching a growing fight here between the 2 Red Bulls and Keza. Keza's caught between them as Clip Security is trying to look for an opening to get ahead of him.
Yeah, that is the fight over 8th place, isn't it? You can see that Kerr has now fallen away. You can see he's 2 seconds off the back of Ruddo. Those soft tyres, he's really struggling. We're on board with Keza, and he just seems to be losing time hand over fist. And Keza's just waiting for the DRS really to go on through. He's going to line it up. He's going to just sit behind him, I'm imagining. Yeah, as he approaches turn 14, he just stays in behind. He'll wait for that right-hander.
He thought about it.
Here he comes.
And now he's going to dump his DRS side by side with the Red Bull here for P7. Clip Curry unable to do anything except for watch his teammate try to defend. Not much here.
He's going to come through.
Let him pass through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kerr backed off of it. Now, whilst that was going on, sorry to come back, but Ivan is in front of Joe. That was a DRS pass, and Joe's now looking to go around the outside at turn 4. Is he going to be brave and go around the outside? He is. He's got his big boy pants on. He's going to really put the power down. This could be a brilliant overtake, and that it is. Joe is up to second. Great move. Really good racecraft between the 2 drivers. That was fabulous. But Ricky Maru and LDR Gamer, they want a piece of the action, and they're right there. I think LDR Gamer hit the back of Ricky Maru there. Has he broken did I see some damage off the front of the front wing?
I am not sure. I
don't know.
I noticed the spin in sector 1 from Kent. Not enough to call it safety car. Like he's going to be out in nowhere, middle of no man's land here back in P18. Those medium tires may be running him pretty hard with his current setup. I'll have to ask him later on if we can get that information. But I see an ongoing fight. Ads trying to close in on Kuh and the Red Bull. The Alpine trying to make a move. Be able to make a move here on the back straight in sector 3. He
Oh,
didn't get the power down quite right.
Kerr is really struggling now. It's a case of, is Kerr just trying to keep those tyres alive until his designated pit stop, but he's just run deep a little into the next right-hander at turn 15. This should be a straightforward pass. Ivan Belov is back in front of Joe, by the way. DRS on ads, Lucas, and that should be move done. Let me skip forward.
Edmonds into the pit.
Edmonds in the
First
pits.
soft tire
Yeah.
runner.
That makes sense. He was struggling, wasn't he, on those soft tyres? And Edmund, I imagine now the soft tyre runners of Kerr and Lucas, they're going to be thinking about pitting. But Lucas has still got a 4.5 second gap. These guys at the front are fighting so hard that he doesn't have to worry about it yet. He can wait for a couple more laps if he wants to, and then bolt on his mediums.
You can try and push 9-10 laps on these softs if you're running a good enough setup and managing your tires. But that 4.5 second gap on Ivan, he should be able to do such a thing instead of waiting and coming in with the rest of the soft tires. Edmund coming in from softs to hards for the rest of the run. Hopefully, there's not going to be a safety car. If there's a safety car at this point, people can be swapping over from hards to mediums.
Yeah, and the mediums with an added benefit of safety car certainly could make it to the end of the race. There's certainly no doubt about that. Scotty saying what I was thinking there as well. Ivan and Joe are fighting so hard. Ricky Maru is prime position to try and go, not just for maybe the podium positions when they pit for their harder compounds, but maybe to even go and attack Lucas if he's got the opportunity, if he's got the pace. Now, here comes again the McLaren of Joe up into second place past the Ferrari, and the two cars behind just sit and watch this ongoing swapping fight.
I don't know if that was a little bit of a lockup from Ricky on those hard tires. Kind of sounded like it. I'm not sure entirely. The Aston Martin passing the Alpine there back for P13. But like you were saying, right now, Ricky Maru is sitting back in P4. LDR Gamer up in the P5 behind him. Ricky Maru, I'm guessing he probably is. He's just letting Joe and Ivan go back and forth while he's conserving his hard tires. A little bit of a lockup there from him, sounds like. I don't know, really. But a little bit of a kick out from there on that hatch.
Yeah, those hard tyres will be still performing really well compared to the soft and the mediums around Ricky Maru at the moment. I've just skipped over the timing tower just so you can see the position changes. Ruddo and Ads and Mr. Steen and Klima, the biggest gains in the race so far. 4 positions for Ruddo, 5 for Ads, 4 for Mr. Steen, 4 for Klima. Biggest drops. Oh, is that a disconnect for Keza? That's a shame if it is. He was running all right. I think he has done. Hopefully we can get him back in. But Kerr dropped 6 places. JP down 7, obviously, because of his spin. And Edmonds just pitted, so it's a bit harsh to try and say he's lost all that places yet. But we go towards lap number 10. Lucas crosses the timing beam. And it's part number 7 between Ivan and Joe. DRS wide open for the Ferrari driver. Ads is up to 8th place. I think Keza is struggling to get back in. That'd be such a shame if we lose him.
Yeah, his car still sitting there. I don't know from the driver's point of view, but his car looks... It was Keza that disconnected, correct?
Yeah, it was. I think he's back in. Yeah, he is. We've got Keza back. He's managed to rejoin. So he's lost 2 places in about 3 seconds as Keza, but fortunately he's managed to get back in control of his car. So still on a good strategy. Let's hope he can bring that time gap back. Fingers crossed for him. This front group from 2nd to 5th, they are just starting to make a little bit of an impact on Lucas. It's down to 4 seconds. It was 4.5 at its peak. So maybe now Lucas is starting to have a few difficulties. I think LDR Gamer ran really deep at turn 10. I'm just watching it back. Yeah, he ran a little bit. And he's disconnected as well. Have you got another one?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
We'll see if LDR can get back in. I wasn't really looking forward to LDR from qualifying. They are definitely looking to be a good contender for the season so they can get back in. And like you were saying about Lucas, that 4.1 second gap, he needs to start thinking about coming into the pits before he loses that interval, because that'll come into play later on for a safety car or a second pit stop, if that.
Yeah, he's carried on though, but I tell you who's on the bit now. It's Ricky Maru. He's got DRS. They've both got DRS. Here we go. We could have a free wide towards turn one. Ricky Maru on the inside in the Haas car, and he's flew on through and he's braked too late. And Joe Hamster says, thank you very much. I'll take that back. And Ivan's going to go around the outside, and Ricky in his absolute haste to get a move on just outdid himself in the braking zone and went from second to fourth in no time.
Now Ruddo, the other Ferrari, up in the P5 and running about a 3.3 second gap now behind Ricky. So he's slowly trying to close that gap. That gap on Lucas has now increased to about another tenth. So 4.2 to 4.3 now as they're coming through Sector 2.
This is really impressive from the two drivers still left on the soft tyres of Lucas and Kerr. They are absolutely doing brilliantly. Clips has now passed the disconnected LDR gamer, who I fear might not get back in. But we will see.
And the way Cut is running right now, Cut is starting to lose some pace on Keza on those hard tires. Keza's now 0.9 behind.
I could never say, by the way, I just saw Melk's commented saying free in the bed. Melk, I could never say free in the bed. That's your thing. That's your commentary, mate. I'm not going to do that. Ricky goes deep again. He just about holds the back of the car at turn 14. He's pushing so hard because he knows he could potentially get a race victory. But a mistake like that is going to cost him big time. And Ivan just goes past Joe again. Those two having a lovely changing episodes going on there. Mr. Steen is up to ninth because Kerr has made a pit stop. Second driver on the softs to do so.
Yes. So we're going to see how Lucas pushes these soft tires. 4.1 second gap still as Joe is tailing behind Ivan. And we have Clemma trying to close the gap on Vasek there for P12. Both running hard tires from the start of the race. And LDR Gamer has rejoined.
That's
and
good
they're waiting
news.
to retake control of their vehicle as the car is coming through Sector 2.
That's good news.
End of Sector 1, start of Sector 2.
It's a shame. He was right in the fight for the race victory, was LDR. When he rejoins and gets control of his car, he might be as low as, 14th by the looks of it. So it's going to cost him big time. Let's see if an angry LDR gamer can come back through the field. Just watching that fight you mentioned. Of course, Xerox, Vasek in 11th with Claimer. JP9, the recovering JP9, let's not forget, after his spin earlier. And LDR Gamer is in control of his car, and he is 14th. So let's see how those two, if they're both very quick, these guys, see if they can fight their way back through the field.
And it's going to be a pretty good midfield fight here because, as I said earlier, P12 is the entry point into the points for this season, as Clemma holds currently 8/10 behind Vasek. About half a second behind ahead of JP9 there. A little bit of a lockup from him in the Alpine.
The first medium pit stop has just happened. Adds Lucas. I was just following him, actually. He's gone into the pits. So he's the first driver who started on the medium compound tyre who's decided to go in. LDR is fighting with JP9 on the brakes into turn 1. JP always likes to give it a nice lunge if he can. He's on the inside for turn 2. They're both giving each other racing room. Really impressed with the driving standards today from these guys. Great to watch. Claimer trying to fight back. I don't know if
there was a difference in pace or if there was more fighting, but Lucas Waha now almost 5-second gap as he had a lockup there coming through turn 8. Still ahead of Ivan and Joe. He may be coming into the pits this lap if he had that lockup there. Those rear tires may be a little bit heated up from that.
Continuing to increase. It's over 5 seconds. I mean, this is mightily impressive from Lucas. If he can take those tyres another lap, maybe 2, it'd be a very easy run for him to go to the medium tyres to the end of this race. And my goodness, Tier 3 champion last season. Are we looking at someone who could be in Tier 1? You know, he's driving unbelievably well at the moment, but we shall see if he can maintain that pace. Let's see if he goes into the pits or he carries on. No, he does carry on. So Lucas is going to put 14 laps on those soft tyres. I mean, this is really impressive from him so far. That is a pit stop. Is that Ivan Beloff going into the pits? It is. It's the first of the Ferraris into the pits. So Ivan I'm assuming he's going to go for the medium compound tyre. Let's just have a little look. I can scan down the pit lane. And as I do that, it decides to skip away from me.
I do have an update from LDR Gamer for that disconnect. LDR Gamer's PlayStation has overheated, so running pretty well in this lobby. Not the only disconnect, but they were able to rejoin as well.
There
and,
are,
Lucas
yeah.
now 6 seconds gap on Joe and Ricky, and like you were saying, that Ferrari coming into the pits. Don't know if there was more fighting between Joe and Ivan, but that gap has increased on.
In all seriousness, I genuinely believe it's Lucas's pure pace on the soft tyres. I will correct myself from before. Ivan was on the mediums, of course. That's when he started on. He's now on the hard, so he's going to run them to the end of the race. But I think those that are on the mediums are just struggling with pace now. We do expect the medium tyre runners to start pitting from anywhere from the lap previous, which we saw from Ads Lucas and co going into the pits earlier, to maybe lap 16, lap 17. But Joe is now, at this point of the race, he's vulnerable because he's going to have Ivan doing the undercut on him in that fight. And Lucas is in the pits, and Joe carries on. So our race leader is into the pit lane. Here comes Ricky for the lead of the race. And he goes through. He's into the lead. The Haasman in P1. Joe down to second. Ruddo on his own in third.
With a pit entry penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Oh, no.
JP9 up to P9 now, as we have some more people in the pit stops.
Lucas is just going to get out in front of Alex. That's a big moment in the race, actually. He didn't want to get stuck behind traffic, and Lucas is out in front of the Williams. He's got about 2.5 seconds to JP and co in front of him, so he may still have to work through some traffic. But Joe has decided to carry on. Let's see if this strategy pays off for him. Kerr's gone past his teammate on the medium tyres as Kerr clips on the hards. He's just come out of the pit lane, so that's a straightforward change of position. I think Atsu is under pressure from...
Lucas back in P9 running a very risky strategy, moving from softs to mediums. Going to be trying to run 15 laps on the mediums. He can run 15 laps on the softs. I'm pretty sure he can do that. It's just a matter of pace coming down to the last 2 laps. And we'll see how well this undercut works. He did have that 5 or 6 second gap coming in, as Ricky is provisional pole as of right now, but that'll change when they come into the pits. And we'll see when they do.
LDR Gamer just had a massive snap of oversteer on the exit of turn 11. I just caught that whilst following Lucas. Oh, and LDR's PlayStation overheating troubles have continued again. They've plagued him. And I'm afraid for Lucas, who just makes an easy overtake on LDR there, I'm afraid for LDR this is going to be a challenge unless he gets a fan on that PlayStation. Keza into the pits then. Now, Vasek in the pit, so the next set of stops are starting to happen. Those on the hard tyres have had enough. They're bolting on a new fresh set of Pirelli compound tyres. Lucas, though, let's just go back to that point. When he left the pits before, he was 2.5 seconds behind JP. You can see that gap is definitely not 2.5 seconds anymore. He is absolutely flying on his new compounder tyres. He's 14.5 seconds behind race leader Ricky Maru, who is yet to pit. He will probably have maybe 11-12 second gap in hand when Ricky Maru pits. So this undercut, even unless Ricky is unbelievably quick on the soft tyres when he decides to pit, this is a tall order for anyone to catch Lucas, who's flying.
Disconnect, and I'm on board with Alex and the Williams coming in for a set of mediums. And LDR Gamer, I don't know if they had planned to come into the pits this lap, but the AI came in and did a pit stop to the mediums. LDR Gamer's having issues possibly with the cable. Going to have to leave it for today, so it may be a permanent disconnect, unfortunately for LDR Gamer, who's now back in P17. Kent has an opportunity to gain from that because of pace. Both AlphaTauri drivers are out of this race as of right now.
Yeah, Claudius down in 19th. He's not really recovered from his lap 1 shenanigans, but this is, I mean, just coming back to, I do, in my commentary, I always like to comment on drivers who are a little bit lower down. Admittedly, Lucas is just setting a barnstorming effort. Ruddo has also rejoined So he's disconnected, as you were rightly saying, Xerox. But actually, I was gonna praise Claudius. I was gonna say it's good testing for him, but it doesn't look like he's here either. So, well, or is he?
We have Alex. I don't believe Claudius is. I don't know. The car was ghosted through Kent.
No, I think he is here. I think it's ghosted because of the drivers he's being lapped. I think that's what it is, because he's got a McLaren coming up behind him, which is inevitably going to be Joe. So yeah, he's just being lapped is all that's gone on there.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's still here.
Ricky Maru and Joe have started lapping drivers. Claudius with that early race incident. I wasn't looking at the right cars at that point.
Does help.
But Lucas Waha already up into P3 off of 2 laps on those mediums. Ricky and Joe still haven't yet to pit. And it's only about a 10-second gap from Joe between Lucas.
Yeah, it's 11.7 now. Typically around here, it's a 24 to 26 second pit stop. So Lucas is in huge command at the moment. Now, Ricky has made a pit stop. What set of boots is he going to put on for these Pirelli compound tyres? He's going to go mediums. And let's just have a look where he is in relation to everybody else who pitted before. Ivan Beloff coming down the main straight. And his undercut of 4 laps.
Medium.
Yeah, Ivan's going to get a notional advantage. He's going to have a couple of seconds. Ricky's got to get in front of Ads Lucas. This is important. And he should be okay. Keza with a new fastest lap. Good lap that from Keza, actually, to get fastest lap. We know Lucas is flying, but really good from him. That's some pace shown from the Alfa Romeo. Otherwise known nowadays.
And JP9 swapping over to the soft tires, trying to look for some pace, trying to recover from earlier.
That is a car in the wall. I'm just looking to see it. I think it's Edmund. And Edmund's stuck in the gravel track, and that's a reset to track. So I'm just saying,
yeah,
that will be unfortunately a penalty for Edmund. But I know what would have happened if he'd have stayed there, which he would have been beached. He's not going to get out. It would have disqualified him. Yeah, and it would have been a safety car. And I think Edmund took that decision. It's against the rules. Obviously, Edmund will get a penalty for that, but he wants to finish, and yeah, that's what's gone on.
The regulations, I believe it's a disqualification.
Is it a DQ? Well, he's going to get on-track experience then. He will finish and then he'll be promptly disqualified from our admin team. So, JP on the soft tyres is in 14th place, as you were saying before, Xerox. And now he's going to try and find a little bit of speed. Joe Hamster making a pit stop. Now, I'm looking at the gaps between himself and Ricky, who he was fighting with earlier. Joe drops down to third. He's going on to the soft tyres. Those tyres will last till the end of the Grand Prix. Ricky will breeze on through. Will Ads Lucas get in front of me? Well, this is a good showing from Ads Lucas. He's found some speed today. He was running in the lower reaches of the top 10 was the Alpine, but this is a really good race display from him. Really good to see.
All right. So, resetting the track, it was Edmund in the Williams to reset the track. First offense will be a 5-second penalty added on to the final result. So if they do end up in the point, they will lose that opportunity.
So does he lose? I'm assuming, is it a time penalty? Is that what you're saying, Xerox?
The first offense is a 5-second time penalty on Edmund.
There we go. So Scotty throwing in some comments just to derail my commentary. Thanks, mate. But whilst that was going on, Joe's just come out of the pits, re-overtaken Kerr. Had a little bit of a bump in the back with the Red Bull as well. Keza is also in this fight, and Mr. Steen's come on strong. A couple of drivers really maybe not having the outright qualifying pace today, but some good racecraft from a number of drivers today. Ads Lucas I've already praised. Mr. Steen quietly going about his business in the Mercedes on the hard tyres. Don't rule out Atsu as well, another driver who's quietly pulled his way up through the field. And now JP, the angriest man on the circuit, probably, is currently probably going to be on for new fastest lap of the race, because he's set a purple sector 2 and he's putting some distance between himself and Claimer, who's just outside the points.
Yeah, black side thing. Unfortunate race for Edmund, that reset to the track. I'm sure some of these later drivers in the field would have favored that safety car, but a lot of people coming into the pit recently after.
Oh,
Nobody would have really gained from it other than closing up the gap between the groups. Because if you look now, Ivan has a 4.7 gap between himself and Lucas, and Ricky Maru, with a late pit stop, has also about a 5-second gap. So those intervals, Ricky's going to try to close in on Ivan. Ivan's running those hard tires, 1 lap extra use on those compared to Lucas's medium. But Joe looking to make up some ground, as well as JP9 on those soft tires.
yeah, so some ground going on there in that sense. Just coming back to your point, actually, you know, there are some gaps at the front, so we're looking a little bit further down. We've got to watch the progress of Joe, and we've got to watch the progress of Ricky Maru. Don't forget Ricky on those medium tyres compared to Ivan, who's on the hard compound tyre, so he should, in theory, be quicker at this stage of the race. But Joe is the man on the move. He's almost within a second of DRS on Clips, but Clips is within a second of Ads.
Yes, he's going to be looking to try to close that gap here on the main straight.
Yeah,
this around the final corner.
Clips got a 3-second time penalty for track limits as well, so that'll be a factor later on. Keza had an amazing overtake. I followed it. I didn't comment on it, but he just had wonderful traction on the exit of turn 2 to get past Mr. Steen. But Mr. Steen has had enough of his nonsense and goes straight back on through. The Mercedes up to 7th, and there's a little fight going on here from 7th
and then
to...
under a half a second behind Keza as well. He is on older mediums, though.
Trying to keep up with the fighting, but Keza re-overtakes Mr. Steen. So this is a good fight between these 5 drivers. Don't forget Vazek is right in the thick of it as well. He's on for some points. And then there's JP about 4 and a bit seconds back. Can he close that gap? It's going to be really dependent on those guys in front of him having a bit more of a fight. Joe's also in the battle for 4th place because Ads Lucas really coming under some pressure now from Clips and, well, subsequently Joe. He hasn't got DRS yet, but if he stays within a second, as he is currently, he will get DRS on the main straight.
Turn 10 from Clemma, looking to try to close the gap. He loses position. He was running very good pace. He was in the DRS, but he had that spin through turn 9 and 10.
Has he carried any damage to Clemma? Is he okay? Looks like he's all right.
No, he did not touch the wall.
Ah, good stuff.
Very unfortunate, though. He was trying to catch up to Ruddo. He was within DRS, trying to get closer to that point opportunity. JP9, 3.6 seconds back behind Vacek on those mediums in the Aston Martin.
Clips gets through on Ads Lucas for 4th place, and Joe smells blood. He's right under the rear wing of the Alpine. Now, can he get the traction off turn 2 and into turn 3? He's close. He's using all of the battery if he can. He's going to have DRS just like Lucas does as well. Will he be brave enough into turn 4? Not quite close enough. Keza back in front of Mr. Steen, and these two now sharing a bit of TV time at the moment. These two having a great fight for 7th. But there are big fights inside the top 10 that we're trying to follow as best as we can. But my goodness, everybody, it's a challenge.
Ads is trying to close in on Cliff as we're on board with Steen. Like you were saying, he has a lockup through turn 10, or turn 8, sorry, as Ads is trying to close in as well. It's going to be a little bit of a DRS train here from P8 to P11.
Yeah, I've just watched. Joe's just mounted the curb on the exit of turn 10. He just about got away with it. Didn't run too far wide, so he sticks quite closely. If Keza and Mr. Steen... Keza with a big slide out of turn number 11 there. But if Keza and Mr. Steen didn't fight so much, there could be a fight for 4th. I don't know where Joe's going. He's decided to be, I don't know, not a lawnmower, a sand mower for that one. He went very wide off the exit of turn 13. He's using all of his racecraft nous to get past Ads, but we're going to have a DRS blast towards turn 1, aren't we, Xerox?
Joe, Ads, and Clips still trying to hold their position for a decent amount of points. The Alpine's trying to move on the inside. 3 wide, possibly. Joe, nowhere to go. He cuts to the inside. Let's see, contact between the Red Bull and McLaren. The Alpine gets away up into P4. Clips now back into P6 against Joe. Joe is side by side with him practically still.
On the inside, the McLaren cements the move. A little bit of contact. I think Joe did his utmost to get out of the way there. You saw how much he clambered over the inside curb at turn 1. But Adds Lucas just keeping his nose clean, gets back in front, but it's going to be hard to try and fend off Joe now at this point. Don't forget, Joe's soft tyres, they're still in a good position. Low race fuel at this point, so the tyre wear's not going to be as bad. And Adds Lucas is... Oh, that's a... Well, let's forget everything I've just said, because Joe has crashed into the back of Lucas, and sadly, that will just ruin his race. I don't think he's going to be scoring any points. That is such a shame. He's had such a good run.
Yeah, Joe is out for the fight. And from my perspective, I watched the replay on your end. It seemed like it was just one of those racing incidents where he tried to outbrake himself, maybe. And then that little move from Lucas, it's not really intentional, but it may be looked over from the stewards. We'll see. We'll have to be keeping an eye out on the penalties that come out later this weekend.
Well, I'll tell you something. Joe has decided to carry on. He's just going to keep fighting. And I think, to be honest, I think Joe recognises at this point, he's not daft. He recognises that even though he's got a broken front wing, he's got decent tyres. He's going to try and brave it out to get a point. It's going to be really tough because JP, the other soft tyre runner in the top 12, has now latched onto this group. Because of that little incident, Mr. Steen is almost in DRS of this group. So we could have like an 8-car fight for fourth if all plays out well.
We could, technically. Those hard tyre runners are going to have to be defending really hard. Also depends on their ERS, because I was having trouble trying to farm or conserve my ERS to run on those straights. That was where I was losing a lot of time, as we see Lucas Waha in the background as we're on board with KT9.
Forget Lucas. There's a fight on for second place, because Ricky Maru, and I did say keep an eye on him before, and we cut away for a few laps. He's now under the rear wing of Ivan Belov. We've got a fight for second, we've got a fight for fourth amongst a million people, and we'll cut back to that in a minute. But Ricky Maru, he goes to the right hand side. He's probably just going to get out of the turbulent air, slots back in, maximising his exit out of turn number 14 and into 15, upshift as quick as he can. And there we go. DR, yeah,
Ivan as well.
But he hasn't used ERS. I think he's going to slot in behind it. Is he going to wait until turn 4? I'm going to then cut back to Lucas, because Lucas has got this queue of cars behind him waiting to snap up that opportunity. Clips is going to be the first to try it in towards turn 1. He's on the inside, brakes a little bit later, and from the viewpoint of Joe, the Red Bull is up into 4th place. Ricky didn't cement that move into second, so he's going to have another couple of laps to do it. Adds Lucas, combative driving this is from the debutant, as far as I'm aware. He's up to 4th, but he just overshoots the corner, and that might be the opportunity Clips need. They're going to be brave into turn 6 and 7. The Alpine on the outside of 6, on the inside of turn 7. They're still side by side at turn 8. Mr. Steen has just gone past Joe for 6th place. They're still together on circuit. This is absolutely wonderful. Turn 9 and 10, you can't get 2 cars through there, and Lucas hangs on. This is absolutely brilliant racing.
A little bit of a spin there from Lucas. Good launch from Kiri. As he's taking the inside, he's going to give way. Lucas is going to have to give way on this next turn. That Red Bull is going to hold on to P4.
He isn't! He's gone round the outside! He's held on! Oh, wow, this is absolutely brilliant. Lucas still hanging on to 4th place. He's got all of the people in the world of Bahrain behind him, and he's still hanging on to it. And credit where it's due, Joe is still in this fight, despite the front end plate being broken. He's putting in a great performance too. I can't call who's going to end up in 4th place, because it could be anybody in this shot. That's unbelievable.
A very strong defense from Lucas, pushing him to the inside, giving him still plenty of space. Red Bull trying to come back on the inside. JP9 up into P10 now, still about a second gap between him and Atsu. I don't know what happened there. Last time I checked, he was back in P12. Bassick and Ka holding on to the very last position 4 points. If you guys don't remember, it is the top 12 for equal performance that score points.
Lucas is trying to go around the outside. Sorry to interrupt you, but Xerox. But Clips this time hangs on. Lucas is just really great to see. This is absolutely wonderful. And tell you what, Mr. Steen, I mentioned these two before. I said they were having really underrated races. They have got the front centre screen now. They're absolutely in the thick of it. Really good to watch. Joe's still hanging on. I tell you what, Joe might...
still a few
yeah.
tenths of a second behind Ivan, still trying to hold on to that. And like you were saying, he's still trying to conserve to hold on to the last few laps. A very strong battle from a lot of drivers here, as Joe still holding back behind Mr. Steen, just trying to wait for his opportunity.
I don't know how he's doing
it.
it.
He does have that front wing damage.
I don't know how he's doing it.
As best as he can. Kuh with the 4-lap older mediums. A little bit of contact. Kuh.
Oh no, in the background.
Vasek on the inside. Didn't break enough. Forcing Kuh into the wall. No damage. No significant damage as they lose out on their points positions. That's going to be a mistake from Vasek, I believe.
I'm sure that one will be looked at. Meanwhile, here comes Mr. Steen and Lucas towards turn 1. Ads goes through. Ricky Maru's got past Ivan in the meantime. I know Ivan's going to be... Whoa! What a bit through! An undercut of absolute epic proportions sees Clips go back into 5th place. And here comes Keza on the inside of the McLaren of Joe. I think Joe's going to struggle to defend that one, and he is indeed. He drops down another spot, but he's got a chance of points now thanks to that incident.
JP9 coming up behind that. Getting an easy position. Joe moving off the track, holding the inside. JP9 now up in a P8.
Good
coming
exit.
Up to turn 10. Good performance from JP9. See if we can hold on to it with that early mistake. I see a little bit of a lockup coming into the turn 10 hairpin. Good launch out. As Vasek's still trying to make a move on Alex for P12, going wide.
Oh, this is brilliant. This has been the absolute curtain raiser that everyone in Invictus Racing League was hoping for, and the guys have not disappointed. Just to cut back, Ricky Maru is in 2nd place. He's going to get DRS, I think, because of the back marker that he's lapping at the moment. They're only 3 and a bit seconds behind Lucas with 2 laps to go. I think that's going to be hard to close. But we focused so much on this battle that we missed Ricky Maru's overtaking, the battle that he's had with Ivan, because this has been absolutely electric this evening.
JP9 making a move on Keza for P7. He has soft tires that are 2 laps younger than those mediums, but their tire life is a little bit, they're probably even matched at this point. The soft tires probably worn out a little bit more. As there's now just under 2 laps to go. Lucas Blaha, 3-second gap. Ricky Maru trying to close that gap with the younger mediums.
Less than 10 kilometres to go. Keza repasses JP. Oh, great switch back from the Mercedes. He's up to 7th. This has been a sterling recovery drive from the Mercedes man. But the fight for 4th place, I think Clips is just about edging away. There's a yellow flag out there. I think claim has gone round or something's gone on. It doesn't matter. At this point, we're all focused on the fight for these last places in the top 5. I say top 5, top 10, top 12, top everybody. Clips is still in front. Don't forget though, Clips has got a time penalty, so whatever happens, he's going to lose 3 seconds. He might drop down to 8th place by the end of this, but he has put in a great shift with everybody around him. So who's going to get 4th? Is it going to be Lucas? Is it going to be Mr. Steen? Could it be JP, who's had a brilliant drive? I think we're going to have 1 lap to go. Lucas is 5.4 kilometres away from a first victory, but that is a gap that has reduced dramatically. That's down to 2 seconds. What's happened with Lucas? He's lost a lot of time. Last I looked, it was 3 point something. Ivan's gone a little bit.
Now
yeah, something's gone on. I think he's okay, but I tell you who isn't okay. It's Mr. Steen and that's Lucas. They're going to try and go almost 3 wide into turn 1. Mr. Steen's on the inside. They're both fighting for what would be a net 4th place, but Lucas holds on once again. Ruddo goes past Joe for 9th and 10th places. Atsu's trying to get in on the action, and it's almost impossible to keep up with.
If JP9 can stay within that second, he can hold off against Keza. Keza about just over half second. Very strong finish, provisional for Mercedes.
Mr. Steen looking at a lunge at turn 8. He couldn't quite make it stick. He's only going to really have one more opportunity with the DRS. Claimer sets a new fastest lap. That's some bragging rights for him to take home after this evening. But we are only a few corners away from the flag. I'm just going to watch to see If anybody can get close enough to the back of Ads Lucas, this is the chance for Mr. Steen. Can he go up the inside? No, he can't at turn 11. He's got one more chance. His teammate of JP9's right behind him. I've got to cut forward. Lucas Blaha, first time in Tier 2, first victory. Well done to him. Ricky Maru and Ivan Beloff are going to be second and third on the podium. Hopefully Xerox can invite them into the party. But there's an absolute scrap for fourth. Here we go into the corner. Oh, there's a bit of contact. And I think that's the Mercedes and Mr. Steen is an end place. Oh, no, there's more contact and they're all in the wall. Oh, that is not the end you wanted. But Lucas takes fourth. Oh, my goodness. The final laps were incredible. But that is going to be discussed in the stewards, I'm sure. That's such a sad way to end it. That was just frenetic. Oh my God!
Hanging on to P11, and this is not going to be an official finish.
No.
We're going to be coming back to you guys next week with the actual results and point. With that last corner incident, very unfortunate here. We're going to be seeing some time penalties, most definitely, as Clemma and Edmund finish out the rest of their race. I believe Clemma is last two. Yeah, they're going to be side by side, technically, as they come across the line. Clemma on those soft tires, stealing the extra point from the top drivers. And I don't believe I have any of those other podium drivers on PlayStation.
I'm just going to look to see if I can invite them into the party. We should be able to.
A very intense fight, very intense race today from all of our drivers. As fan favorite from Season 2 comes away with the win.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal race that was. That was so intense. I mean, what a curtain raiser we've had here, folks. That's just what we want to see. We are going to have some interviews. I'm going to just invite the drivers in shortly. I'm going to also give, of course, a bit more info. Ask some questions to the drivers who are out there. Let me just have a look and see if I can get the provisional race results. There we go. So we have, if you can do that, Xerox, that'd be great. I've already invited Ivan, so it's just Ricky Maru and Lucas. But it is Lucas Blaha, pole position led pretty much all the race. What a drive from him. Ricky Maru ends up second with Ivan Beloff rounding out the podium finishes. Excuse me, that was awful. Lucas in fourth. Mr. Steen, Ruddo, Clips, Kiri, Keza, Joe, Atsu, JP9 and Alex are the top 12, the last of the point scorers, but that is provisional. We saw that accident at the end. That could all change. Kurt, Vasek, Kent, Edmund, who will get a DQ, unfortunately, Claimer, Claudius, and LDR Gamer all finished the race. We had 19 finishes, no safety cars. What a GP.
All right, I'm looking at the information here in the driver's room. Keza responding to JP9. He got stuck on him, couldn't get off. It's kind of, the little, F-123. You get a magnet. You touch someone, you get a magnet. And then Lucas trying to fuel save and defend the position. And then JP9 goes coming in there, clean all racing in the incident. Yeah, they're very unfortunate once again. And we're still trying to get our podium finishers here in the commentary box. As people are responding to the incident at the end of the race.
Yeah, it seems to have been a bit of chaos. I can see it in the driver's room at the moment. A few people aren't too happy, unfortunately.
A very strong race from several people, but I will definitely be paying attention to JP9. This is the first race of the season, but that was definite pace. Even though he had a mistake, I recognize that he does have mistakes here every once in a while, but this performance definitely shows he can recover from it, especially with how tight this group is. This season here in Tier 2, still trying to get our two other podium finishers here.
We've got Ivan in at the moment, which is good to see. So we'll have a chat with him shortly. Just trying to get Lucas in as well. I think that's going to be
And
quite
I
a
don't
challenge. Well,
believe
Ricky's on
is
PC,
on
so that's going to be
Steam,
tough. And I wonder if
so I
Lucas
will
might not be
see
able
about
to.
getting some input from Ricky.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got him in. We've got our one of our podium finishes in the chat currently. We have Ivan. Ivan, can you hear me, mate?
Yeah, hello.
Hello, Ivan. I mean, podium first time of asking this season. How does that feel?
It was a horrible race in terms of feelings, to be honest. I did an awful start, tapped Joe a couple of times, but we had some brilliant battles further. And I didn't practice on hards,
Yeah.
and I just didn't feel any grip on my rear tires. So the second stint was horrible, and then I missed my braking point going after a ghost car on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
penultimate lap, so I couldn't do anything on the final lap.
Did you see? Because obviously, I know you had a good race all the way through with Ricky Maru, and you were sort of the ghost of Lucas through that race. I mean, did you feel like you had the pace to win it today? I mean, it's a great result nonetheless, but what did you make of the fight, the sort of mental battle between yourself and Lucas a little bit further up?
I don't think I had the pace to win
Really?
it today. Yeah. Maybe in the next races, but not tonight.
Not
For
so
sure.
nice, yeah. What
Was
do you?
there
Oh,
any
go on, Xerox.
was there any part of the race where there was something that happened that didn't work in your favor, but in the end you actually were happy that it happened?
I can't say I can't remember a moment, but the whole feelings of the race are horrible.
Is there a reason? I mean, I'm curious about that. Is there a reason? Is it the feeling in your setup that your rig that you've got? Is it the tyres? Is it the track? I mean, any ideas what you think it might be?
I'm not sure about the strategy I have
Hmm.
chose, and I don't think hard tires are really good here.
Yeah.
I should have practiced.
I mean, I'm sure that always helps, mate. I've got one last question, and I know Xerox is going to make some comments from the other drivers who can't join us for this evening. But good result to start the season off. What's your goal for this season, Ivan? Are you going for championship race wins, more podiums? What's the target?
I started to use cockpit cam, and I want to feel myself comfortable using it, and it's about it.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Well done today, Ivan. Great results, getting
Thank you.
yourself on the podium, and all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right, very great performance there from Ivan. And I have some input from Ricky, who was responding to a message, but he says that the race was great, his strategy worked out, and then as soon as he realized that his pace couldn't get him up into P1, he just sat behind Ivan and was using him to recharge his battery, conserve his tire life. But unfortunately for him, towards the end of the race, his tires were quote unquote cooked at the end, and he could hold on as best as he could. And then I believe I don't have any response from our race winner.
I do. I've got our race winner's comments from Lucas. He said, "Great first stint. That was the thing that won the race." And yeah, a bit boring second stint. That's all our race winner has to say, ladies and gentlemen. He just had a bit of a cruise to the finish. But some final comments from yourself, Xerox, before we end this stream, before I round out. What's your highlight of the race, and who's your driver of the day as well? What would you think? What would you say?
My driver of the day, it has to go to JP9 with that early incident and the ability to come back into the points. With that incident at the end, he got caught into it. He'll most likely end up in a higher position than we saw today. We will go over that first thing when we get to next week's race in Portugal, for week 2. But overall, very interesting fight. And like you said, what was it, like 7, 8 tenths a gap between the entire grid at the end of qualifying. And it'll be very interesting to see how that will adapt over the course of the season, especially with the races that we have on the schedule.
Yeah.
And seeing racing from the McLaren team, Joe, and I believe Kent had to fall out early. He tried to hold on. He was doing his best. But like you were saying, there in the second stint, that big DRS train that came back after pit stop, it was very interesting to see who would fight, who would wait, and with the unfortunate end there on the last corner. Overall, we had a very good race, very clean race. No DNS out of turn 1, not really any contact that I saw, but looking forward to next week.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. Thanks, Xerox, for your commentary with me today. That's been really, really great. So that is it then for the first race of the season here with Tier 2. As Xerox rightly pointed out before, we're off to Portimao next week at the Autodromo International do Algarve circuit for round 2 of the season. What intrigue and excitement will we see next week? Can Lucas make it 2 out of 2? Can JP be the angriest man in the world and take a race victory? Who knows? But the racing tonight was so exciting and so frenetic. What a curtain raiser it ended up being. If you want more action from Invictus Racing League, you can, of course, come along tomorrow, same time, 8 o'clock, British Standard Time. The Tier 1 drivers, the ultimate category here in Invictus Racing League, will be battling it out to do overall honours. Once again, it'll be JPH and Bruce Lee Hardin who will be commentating on that event. Great commentators, the pair of them, so do check them out. But from myself, Jack TM53, and Xerox as well, of course, it's been a wonderful evening full of frenetic action. Wherever you might be in the big wide world, have a good one. See you next week for the racing in Tier 2.